Okay, hi guys, my name's Lex. I'm actually the organizer of the Brisbane VR Club. So we meet up similar to what's happening here with the guys that organize this one. We do it once a month as well at the Brisbane Powerhouse. I was actually honored to come in last month and host the VR panel that these guys had here. So how many of you came along to that? I know, yeah, a couple here. Cool, all right. So you would have heard a bit about the projects that are going on locally, what the guys are developing here, Kieran Lord, Alex Stevens, and we had Wilf and what was his name again? Sean Edwards. So really interesting projects. I wanted to kind of take a bit of a step back and talk a bit more about the hardware, where it's at, tethered in particular, tethered hardware. And yeah, I'm just curious, how many of you in here have a DK2? Yeah. Anyone else have any hardware in terms of like, which ones do you have?
That's an Access 2.
Uh-huh. Okay. Cool. Do you guys have any like mobile, the Gear VR at all?
Yeah.
Yep, you have one of those as well? Very cool. So, yeah. I wanted to, so the people in the room who have been following Oculus would know that the CV1 is due to come out the first quarter of next year. Really exciting. I've been waiting. I got my DK2 the end of last year, so I was a little bit late to that. And but I've been playing around, and yeah, I've created some basic stuff. But I'm really excited to see that they've finally confirmed a release date. But again, we don't know. I'm hoping that it comes out in time. But there's the CV1, and yeah, the specs include the screen at 2160 times 2200 at 90 hertz. That's split over two screens, 233 million pixels per second. Now, the other option that I guess everyone else is, like even myself, throwing up in my mind is if the clicker works, there we go. Oh, sorry, yeah. So the challenges with the Oculus and these headsets that are coming out that are tethered for people who don't have a gaming PC. This is something, for myself in particular, is going to be a substantial payment in order to invest in some pretty serious hardware. So yeah, NVIDIA GTX 970 or AMD 290, an i5, 8 gigs of RAM, Windows 7 or greater, the USB ports and HDMI. So obviously my old laptop's not going to work with that one. And I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen for, maybe as game developers, you guys have access to that sort of hardware, but in terms of your consumers, they'd have to be pretty serious gamers to have something like that. And that's the Oculus. Now there's the other kind of option that I've been weighing up. I'm not sure how many people are, who is confirmed, like have decided they're going to go for the CV1, the Oculus? Maybe? What about the HTC? Has anyone been following that at all, the Vive? Yeah, maybe?
Is it the one that Valve?
By Valve, yeah, Valve, HTC, working together.
That's apparently the sexiest piece of hardware out.
You reckon?
Well, that's just from people who've
Yeah.
gone around and been sampling.
Yeah, yeah.
And have said that the biggest wow experience has been that one so far, but given the other one hasn't been released yet, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the.
Because they've had a bunch of test goes on the CV1 as well, right? There's been some people playing around with the controllers.
Just the people have.
Oh yeah, who've actually tried it? Yeah, yeah. Have gone for this one.
All the newer options at the recent expo.
Yeah.
Said that the best experience overall was
the Vive.
And I think that's got more to do with the external.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. The tracking system. Yeah, yeah. So it's got the dual panels, 90 hertz, includes the gyrometer, the accelerometer, headphone jack. So that's actually an interesting point. These don't have headphones integrated, but then the CV1 from the Oculus does have headphones. I think you can take them off and use your own headset, because a lot of gamers do tend to invest a lot of money in their own headphones, and it would be a bit frustrating if Oculus forced you to use theirs. And it includes 37 sensors. And those sensors match up with their tracking system The Oculus is using it more like a desktop piece that sits in front of you or next to your TV or next to your monitor and tracks you. Now the Lighthouse is quite different, so it tracks you by placing these boxes, if you will, in different corners around your room, and can allow for up to, I think it's 10 meters by 10 meters or maybe more, and you can move within that space and still be tracked. You can get up and walk around. And so, yeah, the Lighthouse is a tracking system, 3D spatial laser tracking system to solve the hardware problems surrounding virtual reality position tracking. It supports Steam VR head-mounted displays, such as the HTC Vive and controller inputs based on the Steam VR ecosystem. And so there's a little video link there, and yeah, you can check out a bit more. There's a bit of a talk explaining how it works, but I didn't think I could fit that in within 15 minutes, so definitely check that out, it's worth it. And so that all comes underneath the Valve's initiative, if you will. Valve is releasing an open source API so that developers can make their products, not just games, compatible with Steam VR. And so I guess from what I've been hearing, especially at the end of last year when I got the DK2, there was a lot of questioning about what's going to happen because all of these headsets are coming out, all of these input devices are coming out. You probably heard about the Omni, you would be following the Omni. And so there was a lot of kind of doubt in terms of how VR would progress forward if there's all these different controllers, and how would you get games to work if you want to create a game with the Omni in mind. So Omni is the omnidirectional treadmill, running treadmill. You guys might have seen that on YouTube, some pretty cool video footage of that. And yeah, so if someone was to put all of their time and effort into creating a game that was compatible with an Omni, and then nobody else created content for it, it would kind of suck because you'd buy an Omni and there'd be nothing else to use that Omni for other than 1 or 2 games. So Valve has created this API. Yeah, and it's compatible with Steam VR, which a report recently came out of an interesting progression. Valve's OpenVR joins OSVR, the open source virtual reality initiative, which is, OSVR is by Razer. A lot of you might know of that company, obviously. And yeah, so open source VR is their initiative to bring together all of these input devices, all of these headsets, and make it an ecosystem, almost as if they want to bring in standardization to make it work across all these platforms, so that it makes it easier for a whole bunch of parties, which I'll explain soon. So open source VR, they are also releasing a headset. The price range is up there. That's pretty expensive. I think that's the DK2 right now, actually. So that includes the HMD module with gyroscope, accelerometer, the compass, and for accurate head tracking, the USB, the IR cameras, and for position tracking, the OLED screen, which is full HD, which is, I think, yeah, 60 frames per second. It's pretty cool, with dual lenses. So that's 100 degrees of view, which is actually another interesting thing to bring to take into mind. Palmer Luckey, who founded Oculus, was a bit hesitant to bring out the information about the CV1 in terms of degrees of view, because his argument was that you can kind of argue as to how much it is depending on how far you can see in your peripheral, and then also the lenses that you use, and there's not really any standard as to yet to measure exactly what the field of the degrees of view are for each of these headsets. Yeah.
Who are the people who are claiming the really wide?
Oh, the Star VR?
That's the one. That's
insane. That's yeah, you need a huge rig to run that. Very expensive too. So yeah, as part of the open source VR headset, if you go on the website, you can check this out for yourself. You can scroll down and add in these extra features, and so you can replace them. And yeah, so things like the OLED screen, the face mask, which should have been done with the DK2 in my opinion, and also the IR upgrade kit. But then also there's a few other things that are coming soon. So this is where it's getting interesting. From what I understand, Razer is trying to open it up so that, again, all these input devices can be used with their headset. And they were said, I read an article where they stated that they weren't interested so much in the headset because everyone's coming out with headsets. They want to make money off of the peripherals. And so they want to create this platform so that if there's companies that are creating peripherals like the Glove One, I'm not sure if everyone's seen, there's like a glove and you can, for VR, virtual reality, yeah, one person's seen that. Very interesting. Yeah, you're potentially, their aim actually, and it should be on here. Let me see, the HMD. So this is what they're catering for at the moment. So there's actually Oculus DK2 up there as well. Game Face is another interesting HMD that I've been following. So you've got feedback devices, the Leap Motion. I'm not sure if it's up there yet. Sixth Sense is working on some head and body position. So like the suits, you can strap on sensors onto your body. And then you've got down, so locomotion devices, there's the Omni, Virtuix Omni, which is going to be really interesting. And yeah, it includes software. So it works with the engines. I'm kind of new to the whole scene of game development, so I'm just messing around with Unity 3D and figuring out how Unity 5 doesn't work with the DK2 and how I have to go back to Unity 4. And then, yeah, Unreal Engine, which I still need to learn. But yeah, it's interesting how they're, and then there's OpenVR as well from Valve up there. So it's all in, they're integrating everything in. And did you have a question? No, okay. Yeah. So I had a little thing on their website that I wanted to read, just kind of wrapping up all of the different parties who are going to benefit from this. As a game developer, you're not limited to single hardware anymore. You support a large and growing list of device drivers. So HMDs, displays, head, hand, finger, eye, and body trackers, controllers, cameras, and more. So that includes multi-platform compatibility as well, Windows, Android, iOS. It's going to be future-friendly. No need for more coding to support new devices. Plugins available for popular game engines, for example, Unity and Unreal and more. Access to an ever-growing collection of plugins as predictive tracking and gesture analysis becomes more and more popular. For hardware developers, there's going to be an ever-growing collection of games and applications that work with your hardware, which was one of the challenges before, is trying to convince all the developers to create stuff for maybe like the Omni, which might not be very popular in the initial stages. Access to plugins that make your hardware more useful. For instance, Gesture plugin adds value to hand trackers, and no need for direct integration with game developers. And then as a software developer, the ability to test software modules within a full VR stack, and such as an existing game, the ability to apply your IP, for example, gesture engines or face recognition libraries, to a wide range of sensing devices and applications, and then also the ability to use open source or closed source proprietary modules. So that's the talk from me. Yeah, 3 points. The VR industry will not be fragmented, and contrary to what some people were thinking at the beginning of this year. I'm very excited to see what happens by the end of this year, though, and the beginning of 2016. It is possible to deliver compelling experiences. I'm not sure how many of you haven't tried VR, but yeah, definitely find a friend who has a DK2 or come to our meetup and give it a go. But it's going to take time, and so it'll be interesting to see how this evolves over time. It's not going to be an instant one-hit wonders. There will be some people who succeed and a lot who don't, and then as it trickles down into mainstream over time, the pricing of the hardware and getting these rigs that are quite expensive at the moment for just a general consumer, as the price comes down, we'll see it leak into the mass market, which is exciting. Thank you.